Think about the last time you walked down a snack aisle. You saw Snickers, M&Ms, and Skittles. It feels like you have a million choices, but that is actually a clever illusion. Behind almost every famous treat in your hand is one single, incredibly quiet family: the Mars family. They are the second richest dynasty in America, worth a mind-blowing $146 billion. Yet, they live in total silence. How did they build a global empire while remaining invisible? Join us as we unlock the secret fortress of the Mars family: a kitchen, a crisis, and a brilliant strategy. To understand an empire worth billions, you have to look past the money and see the struggle. Long before there were private jets and massive estates, there was just a cold kitchen in Washington. This story starts in 1911 with a man named Frank Mars. Frank's early life did not look like a success story. When he was a young boy, he faced a physical crisis called polio. Today, we do not think about polio much, but back then, it was a social and physical death sentence. It meant that while other children were outside running through fields and playing games, Frank was confined. His body would not let him be a normal kid. Because of this, Frank spent his childhood observing. While other kids played, he studied the world from a window. He learned to see details that others missed, a skill that later defined his business. He watched how people walked, how they talked, and what they looked at when they passed his home. This was his unofficial market research phase. His mother, Alva, refused to let him give up. She saw that his hands still worked, even if his legs did not. So she brought him into the kitchen to keep him busy. She taught him the delicate art of hand-dipping chocolates. It was a slow, beautiful process. You had to have the perfect touch to coat a piece of candy without ruining the texture. Frank became obsessed with this process. He learned the rhythm of the sugar and the way the chocolate felt as it cooled. And this kitchen became his entire world. It gave him a purpose when the rest of life felt like it was closing in on him. He realized that a small, sweet treat could make someone forget their problems for a moment. This was the core lesson of his life. He was not just making food, he was making an escape. But having a talent for chocolate did not immediately translate into extreme wealth. Frank tried to start several candy companies, and every single one of them failed. He moved his family from city to city, trying to find a market that would buy his treats. He was often broke, living on almost nothing, and facing the shame of losing everything he worked for. There were times when he could not even pay his rent. But Frank had a hard-won steadiness that came from those years of fighting his physical crisis. He knew how to wait and how to survive. In 1923, he was sitting at a local soda fountain. This was the place where everyone went to hang out back then. He watched people ordering malted milk drinks. They were thick, sweet, and creamy. People loved them, but there was a problem. You had to sit at a counter with a spoon or a straw to enjoy one. You could not take that experience with you. Immediately, Frank's brain started working. He thought, what if I could put that exact malted milk flavor into a bar that someone could carry in their pocket? He went back to his kitchen and started experimenting. He mixed malt-flavored nougat with caramel and covered the whole thing in his signature milk chocolate. He called it the Milky Way. The Milky Way was not just another candy bar. It was a brilliant strategy. It was much bigger than the other bars on the shelf, but it cost the same amount of money. People felt like they were getting a luxury treat for a bargain price. Within a single year, the Milky Way was making millions of dollars. Frank went from a man who could not pay his bills to one of the richest men in the country. He built a massive factory in Chicago that looked like a palace. He started buying racehorses and living a life of luxury. As he grew richer, he became more protective of his life. He remembered what it was like to be the boy at the window, and he did not want the world looking in on him anymore. He began to pull away from the public eye. He did not want people to see his disability, and he did not want them to see his wealth. He wanted to stay in the shadows, where it was safe. He spent his days in his factory, perfecting his recipes and making sure every single bar was exactly the same. He was a perfectionist who believed that the product should speak for itself. He did not think he needed to be a celebrity to be a king. He wanted to be the man who provided a moment of sweetness to a world that was often very bitter. As Frank grew older, he tried to pass this quiet lifestyle down to his family. He wanted his children to value the work more than the fame. He built a wall around his life, but that fortress was about to be challenged from the inside. However, while Frank was happy with his money and his quiet life in America, he had a son who was very different, and their big disagreement was about to start a war that would spread across the entire planet and change the way we eat forever. The fight and global hegemony. When you have two men as strong-willed as Frank and Forrest Mars, peace is impossible. By the early 1930s, the tension between father and son had become a dark cloud over the company. Frank was happy with his millions and his horses, but Forrest was restless. He believed his father was being lazy by not spreading the company all over the world. Forrest wanted to take the Milky Way to Europe and build an empire that never slept. Frank hated the idea of taking risks. He did not want to lose the safety he had built. One afternoon, the argument got so heated that Frank told his son he was finished. He gave Forrest $50,000 and the rights to produce the Milky Way bar outside of America. He told him to leave and never come back. It was a cold, brutal end to their relationship. Forrest walked out of the office with a suitcase and a recipe, but he did not feel defeated. He felt free. He boarded a ship for England, leaving behind the only life he had ever known. He was a man with a famous name but no home, and he was determined to prove his father wrong. Forrest started from scratch in a small factory in the United Kingdom. He was a tough boss, often working 20 hours a day and expecting his employees to do the same. He was obsessed with quality, just like his father, but he was also a master of psychology. He knew how to make people want things they did not even know they needed. While he was building his business in Europe, he found himself traveling through Spain during the Spanish Civil War. It was a dangerous, messy time, but Forrest was always looking for a business advantage. He noticed the soldiers were eating something strange: small bits of chocolate covered in a hard sugar shell. He watched them in the hot sun and saw that the chocolate did not melt. It stayed perfectly crisp in their pockets. A normal person would have just seen a snack, but Forrest saw a brilliant strategy. He realized that the biggest problem with chocolate was the heat. If he could solve that problem, a market would be born in every corner of the earth, no matter how hot the weather was. He rushed back to his lab and spent months trying to recreate that sugar shell. To achieve this, he had to design specific machinery. He created massive rotating drums that tumbled the chocolate bits while spraying them with layers of liquid sugar and blowing in warm air to dry them. This was the birth of the M&M. He knew he could not do it alone, so he teamed up with Bruce Murray, the son of the president of Hershey's. Together, they used the first initials of their last names to name the new product. Because Bruce was connected to Hershey's, they had a steady supply of chocolate even when the war made it hard to find. When the US entered World War II, the military needed a treat that wouldn't melt in the Pacific heat. Forrest pitched M&Ms, and soon they were in every soldier's ration kit. This wasn't just a contract, it was the ultimate marketing campaign. When the troops returned, they brought a craving for M&Ms with them, turning the Mars family into a household name overnight. M&Ms made the family rich beyond their wildest dreams, but success only made Forrest retreat further into the shadows. He merged his father's empire with his own and began running the company like a secret society. He scrubbed the family name from buildings and forbade his children from speaking to the press. Believing that to be invisible was to be invincible, he built a culture of stealth wealth that would define the dynasty for the next 80 years. To secure this, Forrest utilized a complex system of legal trusts to acquire companies without ever appearing on public records. He taught his children, Forrest Jr., John, and Jacqueline, that wealth was a tool of power, not a trophy for display. But even a secret empire needs new ways to grow. The family soon realized they could make even more money by feeding someone else in your house. Someone with 4 legs, soft fur, and a tail. The secret pet empire. Most people think of Mars as a company that makes sweets, but that is only half of the story. If you want to know where the real money is made today, you have to look at the floor. Specifically, you have to look at the pets that live there. Decades ago, the Mars family made a very quiet and very brilliant strategy. They noticed that as the world became busier and more digital, people were feeling lonelier. Because of this, they began to treat their dogs and cats like their own children. This was a massive change in how humans lived. In the past, a dog lived in the backyard and ate scraps. Now, that dog was sleeping in a bed and eating premium food. The Mars family saw this change before anyone else did. They realized that if they could control what pets ate, they would have a customer for life. And you what? People might skip a chocolate bar to save money, but they would never skip a meal for their beloved pet. This was the perfect secret business. It was stable, it was growing, and it did not attract the same kind of public attention as a new candy bar. They began to quietly buy up some of the most famous pet food brands in the world. They bought Pedigree, which is the most popular dog food on the planet. They bought Whiskas for cats and Iams for premium nutrition. They even bought Royal Canin, which is the high-end food that veterinarians recommend. By doing this, they effectively took over the entire grocery store aisle. No matter what price you were willing to pay, you were likely giving your money to the Mars family. They did not put their name on the bags. They kept the original branding so that customers would not realize that one single family owned almost everything. This was the Mars way. Have all of the power, but none of the fame. They were feeding hundreds of millions of animals every single day, making billions of dollars in profit while the world still thought they were just the chocolate people. But even this was not enough for the Mars dynasty. They wanted to own the entire journey of a pet's life, from the first bowl of food to the final trip to the clinic. This led them to their next big move, which was even more brilliant and even more secretive. They started buying animal hospitals. They realized that healthcare was the most expensive part of owning a pet. If your dog gets sick, you do not look for a bargain. You look for the best care possible. Mars began acquiring thousands of veterinary practices under names like VCA, Banfield, and Blue Pearl. Today, they own more than 2,000 pet hospitals across the globe. This created a perfect circle of money. You buy their puppy food when you get a new dog. You take that dog to their hospital for its shots. When that dog gets older and needs a special diet, you buy their medical-grade food. It is a closed system where the Mars family is with you every step of the way. In 2026, this pet care division has become even more profitable than their candy business. They are no longer just a candy company. They are a global health and nutrition giant. And yet, if you ask the average person on the street who owns Banfield or Pedigree, they would not have a clue. This is because the Mars family prefers to hide behind the brands they own. They know that if the public connects all these dots, they might feel like Mars has too much power. By keeping each brand separate, Mars maintains a sense of competition that does not actually exist. This is the ultimate business illusion. It allows them to collect extreme wealth from every corner of the market while appearing to be just one of many options. Maintaining this massive empire requires a specific lifestyle. You cannot be a tycoon and a ghost without strict rules. The Mars family saw families like the Roc-A-Fellers become symbols of public hate and chose a different path. To avoid being recognized or targeted, they built a life of high walls and invisible transactions, mastering the art of hiding in plain sight. This isn't just shyness, it's a calculated strategy to remain the ultimate bosses of their destiny. They created a version of luxury completely invisible to the outside world, a chocolate-covered fortress built to stand the test of time. Living like a fortress. To stay a secret for over 100 years while being worth $146 billion, you have to treat your life like a military operation. The Mars family does not live in flashy mansions in Hollywood or glass penthouses in New York. Instead, they choose places where they can disappear. One of the best examples is Jacqueline Mars. She owns a massive estate in Virginia that covers 750 acres of prime land. From the road, it looks like a typical, beautiful horse farm. It is elegant and quiet, blending perfectly into the countryside. But if you were to try and get close, you would quickly realize it is a fortress. The property is filled with hidden security cameras, motion sensors, and a team of highly trained guards who are taught to be invisible. They do not want a tough look that attracts attention. They want a natural look that hides the power underneath. This is the essence of the Mars family. Everything looks normal on the surface, but underneath it is more advanced than a government building. The secrecy goes even deeper than their homes. When a member of the Mars family wants to travel, they do not go through the same airports as everyone else. They have a fleet of private jets, but these jets are not painted with a family logo or a flashy design. They are often owned by shell companies, which are just businesses that exist on paper to hide who the real owner is. This means that even if a curious person looks up a plane's registration, they will only see a boring corporate name like Snack Holdings LLC. They have a special landing strip on their private land so they can go from their front door to their jet without ever seeing a stranger. They have turned their wealth into a giant invisibility cloak. They can go anywhere in the world, stay in the finest hotels, and eat at the best restaurants, and nobody will ever know that one of the richest people on the planet is in the room. This allows them to live a life of extreme wealth without the burden of being a celebrity. They also have a very strict protocol for the next generation. From the time the Mars children are toddlers, they are taught the family rules. They are told that they must never show off their money. They are taught to wear modest clothes, drive normal cars, and avoid any kind of public drama. They are also required to work. No Mars family member just gets a check for being born. They have to go to good schools, get jobs outside of the family business first, and prove they are capable before they are allowed to take a seat at the company table. They are taught that the family name is a sacred secret that must be protected at all costs. This is why you never see a Mars kid in a gossip magazine or a reality show. They are the most well-behaved billionaires in the world because they know that one mistake could bring the whole wall of secrecy crashing down. They are raised to be people who understand the mechanics of power better than anyone else. They are even taught to never use their last name when making dinner reservations or booking travel. This ensures that their arrival never creates a scene. The family also uses their money to stay quiet in the business world. Because the company is private, they do not have to publish an annual report. They do not have to tell the public how much money they made or what they are planning to do next. If they want to spend $10 billion on a new factory or a pet hospital, they just do it. They do not have to ask a board of directors or explain themselves to the news. This gives them a massive advantage over companies like Hershey's or Nestle, who have to report everything to the public. The Mars family can think 20 years ahead, while other companies can only think about the next 3 months. This long-term thinking is what has allowed them to stay so powerful for so long. They are not interested in a quick profit. They are interested in building a dynasty that lasts for centuries. They view themselves as the guardians of a legacy, and they take that job very seriously. They believe that if they stay quiet, they can keep winning forever. Even the most private family in the world cannot stay completely invisible forever. Today, the world is much more connected than it was in Frank's day. There are drones, satellite maps, and internet sleuths who are always looking for secrets. The family has had to work even harder to maintain their wall. They have hired the best cybersecurity experts and the best lawyers to keep their data safe. They have created a version of privacy that is a mix of old-fashioned high walls and modern digital shields. They are constantly adapting to the new world, making sure that their fortress stays strong. They know that in the age of information, the most valuable thing you can own is silence. But they have managed to do what almost no other family has. They have kept their humanity, their wealth, and their secrets all at the same time. They are the ultimate proof that you do not need a loud voice to have a lot of power. They are the silent kings who control your snacks, your pets, and your life, all from the comfort of their high-tech shadows. This century-long journey from a boy in a kitchen to a global empire is a story of grit and extreme discipline. The Mars family did not just stumble into wealth. They built it, defended it, and hid it with incredible precision. They represent a different kind of success, one that does not need likes or followers to feel real. They have achieved the ultimate dream: all of the money, with none of the problems that come with being known. As they look toward the future, they continue to grow, quietly buying up the world one bite and one pet clinic at a time. They are a reminder that the most interesting stories are often the ones that are never told. They have built a chocolate-covered fortress that is designed to stand the test of time, and so far, not a single person has been able to break through the walls. Their legacy is one of silence, sweetness, and a level of control that most people can only imagine. They have proven that in the modern world, the greatest luxury is being able to disappear. As long as people love chocolate and cherish their pets, the Mars family will continue to rule from the shadows, quietly shaping the world we live in while remaining completely out of sight. So, if you were the Mars family, Would you choose fame or a secret $146 billion? Share your thoughts in the comment section, and make sure to like and subscribe to Global Status for more deep dives into secret dynasties.